The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
It is magic time. Hello, and welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley Show. I am one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
And I am the other host, Warren Van.
Yes, coming at you from Bellingham, Washington on a beautiful spring. Is it spring yet?
Yes, it is spring,
right?
It was spring on the 21st.
Yeah, and it's actually sunny for the first time in, is it 9 months? No, something like that?
It's so bad.
I'm usually not one of those people who, everyone who lives in this area always bitches about the weather, and it pisses me off because the weather here is very mild, but they're always like, oh God, it's so never sunny, and I usually just tell them to shut the fuck up, but I have to admit that lately I have wanted a little sun.
Oh, yeah.
It did feel nice to walk out of the house today and just wear like a t-shirt and a light jacket and have sun in my eyes. And
beyond like the just heat of it, the fact that it's just not gray everywhere, and it's kind of like the birds are chirping and it's a little like bright out, and everything looks different because there's actual light on our town. It's kind of nice.
That's cool.
It's good.
I got to put on the old sunglasses for the first time in a long time.
Oh, I've got the sunglasses on my head right now.
I can see that.
This is what happens when like summer comes. I have the sunglasses on top of my head like this, like for the entire like 3 months.
That's the other funny thing I noticed when I lived in LA. I think maybe, I don't know, 30% of the people would walk around with sunglasses.
Yeah.
Here, when it's sunny, every goddamn person has sunglasses on. It's like we overreact to the sun just like they overreact to rain.
To it, though.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because like with them with the rain, like they're not used to the rain, so it's like a big deal when it happens. They're not used to it. We're not used to seeing the sun, so if you see any sun at all, it does like make you kind of like cower, like you're a vampire.
Well, we are like those Morlock, or what are they called? Morlocks from the Time Machine? Those weird white mole people that live underground.
What?
Didn't you remember that? You know the Time Machine, that old weird movie where the guy goes way into the future and there's the creepy Morlock people that live underground.
Is this the H.G. Wells thing?
Yeah.
Oh.
They have like white fur and they're all freaky, but that's what we're like.
We're
when the
just
sun,
like that.
When the sun starts coming out, the pale, like pasty people, we crawl out of our holes and go, oh.
And that's the thing too. Everyone gets like starts wearing bikinis and stuff,
Yeah.
and it's like 47, but it's sunny out. And people are like throwing a frisbee around. It's still cold, but
Well, it was like, I think it was 56 this afternoon, and I was downtown, and yes, there were people in halter tops and tank tops and things running around, like sun visors and stuff. It was pretty amusing.
oh, I think it's great. Although when I was walking over here, I was really having a nice walk, and I came to the intersection, and I could see this old guy in a Buick like rolling up to the stop, and he was like, he obviously saw me, so he's like, I'm gonna wait for this guy,
Right.
And he could have make the turn like 3 times in the time it was taking me to get there to the so by the time I get up there, I'm like, okay, I'm still walking. I start to walk the street. He's gotten impatient by this point, 'cause he's
Right.
an old man, he's got places
Now
to
he's
be
pissed.
so he almost hits me as he takes a left turn, and I'm like, I didn't make you stop. You could have gone a long time ago and just turned, and we would have been fine and not had this problem. I was just walking at the same pace the entire time. Do not be angry with me for walking across the street when you've been waiting for me for 30 seconds.
Did he give you the old man fish shake?
No, he just had this like intense look on his face. He had like the old man sunglasses, and he was bald and had like liver spots on his head. An old like 80s Buick.
Like Mr.
And it
Burns.
almost clipped the back of me, and I was...
Was it like a Buick Park Avenue? One of those.
Oh yeah, it looked like one of those ones that has a nice ride.
That's the kind of car that my grandpa used to drive too. We have a packed show today, Warren.
Oh, good.
We have so many good features going. We have a potential What Women Are. Maybe I'll let you be the final arbiter of whether or not it deserves to be a What Women Are. We've got some Celebrity Minute. We, again, do not have a Street Freak of the Week. The homeless people are really letting me down lately. I don't know what's going on. So we might open up Street Freak of the Week to listeners. If you've had any sort of strange or disturbing encounter with a homeless person, write in at podcast@warrenandbradley.com, or you can also write on our Facebook page, facebook.com/warrenandbradley. We've been getting more likes lately, Warren. I don't know if you've noticed that.
I haven't, but it's good.
We've got some from the UK, some from Canada now. It's exciting. We're getting international.
Canada.
Yeah. Which is funny because we've made fun of Canadians.
We've made fun of Canadians. And the other thing, it's not that international. You can say we're like less than like 30 miles from Canada.
Well, yeah, but some are from BC, some are from Ottawa, some are from Saskatchewan. There's one from Saskatoon, I noticed.
Oh, Saskatoon.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's exciting.
Always want to go to Saskatoon.
And I was looking at, this is weird, I don't know if anyone else will give a shit about this, probably not, but I was looking at our insights.
Oh, yeah, well, you know you're into it.
Yeah, at people who have seen our page on Facebook. Apparently, we have way more people in the UK seeing our page on Facebook than in America. And I don't really understand that or know why that's the case.
Well, we've discussed before, you are an Anglophile, so maybe they just know.
I don't know.
They know
it is weird,
them.
though. Like, London, England is our #1 city for people viewing our Facebook
Didn't
page.
we talk about how ugly they were the other day, though?
We did, yeah.
Oh shoot. Well, probably it's gonna
Let's alienate all our prospective audience before they even start listening.
I don't know, though. If I was listening to a podcast that originated from, I don't know, Newcastle or something, and people were talking shit about Americans, it wouldn't bother me.
Well, English people pretty much constantly talk shit about Americans. That's just kind of what they do.
I'm not going to take it personally.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I'm also not viewing the web pages of podcasts from people from Newcastle. But
yeah. Are there any podcasts? We should look that up.
Oh, I'm sure
we could have
many.
a sister podcast in Newcastle.
Yes.
So anyway, the show's going to be jam-packed full of yummy podcast goodness.
Oh,
and I
good.
hope that you all
You're
enjoy
really
it.
building up expectations.
Yeah, I know. And now we're going to really fail. How was your weekend so far?
It's been okay. Watched some basketball. I've been really into watching basketball.
Yeah.
The NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
There's been an issue with this NCAA tournament, though.
What's the issue?
I've been watching it online.
Uh-huh.
And online, they always have the same commercials over and over again. And there's a commercial for Buick, oddly enough, that features Peter Frampton that I've seen more than 100 times at this point. And I think about it all the time. I think I'm dreaming about it.
Does it have the song, Do You Feel?
It has the other one. It's like do 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 do.
Baby, that one.
Yeah. But this is the thing. This is the commercial. Picture this, if you will.
Okay. I'm going to close my eyes.
They show a bar, and then this guy goes up to a mic and goes, "Sorry, our guitarist is sick," and everyone goes, "Oh."
Okay.
And they go, "But fortunately, we have a replacement, Mr. Peter Frampton," and they pan over to him, and he goes, "Hi, Dale's Roadhouse." And then you're like, oh, that's weird. And then they have a shot of a kind of attractive, like, middle-aged woman with this, like, look of wonder on her face. And then Peter Frampton goes, and then it cuts to a Buick going down a road, and some guy driving a Buick. And it shows him, like, going through the music on his little, like, system in the Buick.
Right.
But he's not listening to Peter Frampton. And then it's like, a Buick is unexpectedly great. Like having Peter Frampton at this weird dive bar. Let's put this commercial online. We'll let everyone else see it. Watch it 100 times. See what happens to you, because I am so annoyed at this point.
When your tagline is unexpectedly great, that seems like a really bad...
It's like unexpected things happen occasionally. And
it's like if Coke were like, it doesn't taste like shit.
And the other thing that bothers me is if you have a band at this Roadhouse and you're about to perform and you're like, our guitarist is sick, and Peter Frampton happens to be there, and Peter Frampton's like, I'll help out. You're like, that's great. Peter Frampton just starts playing his own music.
Well, yeah.
And then you just have to try to perform Peter Frampton's music with him.
Well, everybody knows Peter Frampton's songs.
I guess so. It's all very confusing. And if you see it enough, you start thinking about it a lot. Like,
so
what's this woman doing at the bar by herself, just staring in awe at Peter Frampton? Did she expect to see the band before? I don't know.
So if you were at Pete's Roadhouse, is it Pete's Roadhouse?
Yeah,
okay,
some kind of roadhouse.
And you were in the band, you would be irritated if Peter Frampton walked on stage because he was stealing the thunder from you.
I'd be confused because I'd be like, aren't we going to play our normal set? And then he goes into like, do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And I'm like, I don't know how to play that song.
Well, I'll tell you something right now. If Groupus McKay and the Rabble-Rousers were playing and Mr. Smooth, the guitar player, were sick and Peter Frampton came up to play, Frampton would be forced to play Groupus McKay and the Rabble-Rousers songs. They would not kowtow to Peter Frampton.
I hope not.
Let's do Celebrity Minute, Warren.
All right, let's do it.
Let's cue up the music here.
Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
All right, we're going to start off with a shocking, rather tragic
I think
story.
it's the opposite of shocking.
Shocking?
That one's shocking.
This one's shocking. I want everyone to just maintain some calm here, but Kim Kardashian was flower bombed at a red carpet event. She's okay. She's fine. And I want you to know that after being flower bombed, she went off the red carpet, she cleaned the flower off, came back, and finished her appearance.
So when you bravo, you are a
that
true
is some
artist.
Class, Kim Kardashian.
When you read that headline initially, did you think about people throwing flowers on her? Okay, because that's happened to me too.
Well, because they talk about the glitter bombing that apparently GLAAD does to people who they think do not like gays.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they'll throw glitter on them.
Oh, I've never actually heard of anyone that happened. Does that
that happened to Newt Gingrich, I think Rick Santorum.
I can see Rick Santorum does not like gays.
As far as
Newt
I know.
Gingrich not like gays?
I don't know. He's Republican, so they just assume, I guess. He doesn't like women, apparently, but... And the glitter bombing, I can see that as being fairly horrible, because if you've ever... I mean, we all have glitter around our houses.
Yeah,
and if you ever spill a bottle or a vial of glitter somewhere, Jesus Christ, it's impossible. It'll be there for years.
Well, that's the thing.
decades.
If you see a girl somewhere and she has glitter on her face, you'll be like, "Oh, you have glitter on your face." She'll be like, "Yeah, I handled a child that had glitter with it like 3 months ago, and there's still glitter on my face."
It's impossible. It actually eventually sucks into your pores and gets into your bloodstream. It's ridiculous.
It's persistent.
So the flower bombing, this was actually apparently an entire bag, maybe a pound bag of flour. I think it was bleached white flour.
Yeah.
From the look of it. We'll post a picture of Kim Kardashian covered in flour. I don't know why she was attacked by the woman. Apparently she's going to press charges now because she doesn't want people to think that they can get away with this kind of thing.
Well, the thing is, you can get upset with anyone for any number of reasons, right? And throw a pie in their face or throw glitter on them. There's always a reason to throw something at
It was an
celebrity.
event for at a charity. It was a benefit for the Dress for Success charity, which I don't know
People opposed to success, perhaps.
Is that just like getting fancy clothing for underprivileged women or
I think
something?
that's what it is. Yeah, it sounds like it. It's one of those things where you donate your old businesswoman clothing to this organization and they give it to underprivileged women so they can go in for job interviews.
So when they go to McDonald's wearing their power suit with shoulder pads, they'd be like, "You're hired." All right. Well, we hope all success to Kim Kardashian, and hopefully something like this never happens again, this horrible attack.
Next time we hope it's anthrax.
What's that next story there, Warren?
Kevin Smith calls Bruce Willis the meanest emo bitch ever.
Apparently Kevin Smith does not like Bruce Willis and says that he's insanely difficult to work with. I couldn't even think of any movie they had done together, and then
They've
I realized...
done Cop Out together.
Yeah, Cop Out. Which
I am a
saw.
fan of Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier's podcast, Smodcast, which is one of the most popular...
Are you
podcasts
plugging
on the
one of our
internet.
competitors on air?
Well, it's a good show.
It is.
Sometimes it gets bizarre sometimes, but it's also very funny sometimes. And he had some poor interactions with Bruce Willis when he made that film. Tracy Morgan seemed to be okay with him. Didn't have any problems with him, but Bruce Willis apparently not that good of a guy.
I do like the fact that Kevin Smith, most people in Hollywood are very careful about who they piss off because they figure, we might have to work together again, or I don't want to burn my bridges.
Kevin Smith, the least careful person ever.
He doesn't seem to have any censor going on
No,
there.
he just says whatever he's thinking at any given time.
And it is refreshing because that most of these people in Hollywood probably are dicks, so it's nice to have that confirmed from somebody like, this fucking prick. I actually encountered Bruce Willis once when I lived in L.A. I was working at a Barnes & Noble, and he came in with his assistant, and Bruce Willis was wearing salmon-colored capri pants and a rainbow tank top and a little beret on his head. It was very strange. And his assistant was gay, because I think most male assistants just are for some reason. I've never had one, but I'm assuming if I put out an ad...
When I think about an assistant, I do think about female, usually.
Usually.
In my mind, yeah.
And if they're male, then they're usually...
Well, I've never had an assistant. I probably never will.
Yeah, probably not.
But I feel like if I had a male assistant, I'd want a gay one.
Why?
I don't know. I just feel like he'd be more attention to detail and stuff.
Are you making
that's a stereotype?
Well,
we talked about the stereotype
a positive
before.
Stereotype.
It's the positive stereotype. Yeah. But I know a lot of straight guys, and I feel like they wouldn't be able to handle anything. They just mess everything up. I'd be like, should I...
They could carry a 50-pound bag of dog food out of your car for you.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's the one thing I can do already.
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
the weird little things. Like, if I had an assistant, what I need them to handle is like buying gifts for my relatives and stuff,
And
or
you're
buying
saying
flowers
that gay
for,
people are good
for
at
the
that,
girlfriend and stuff. Well, I'm just saying that they, in my stereotypical mind, would be better at like managing those things and thinking about those things than I would. I can handle my own dog food.
You're so filled with hate.
Is that what it is?
All right, next story. Another tragic story, Warren.
Oh, very tragic.
I know you were pretty hard hit by this.
America's funniest man, comedian Gallagher, to retire from performing live.
I don't think I've ever seen a full Gallagher comedic
Just
performance.
some clips of him smashing watermelons.
Yeah, that is all he does, right?
I think he's a prop comic, and he does things, and he just smashes things.
He smashes watermelons.
Yeah, which I don't want to say someone's lowbrow or highbrow. That seems pretty lowbrow.
Yeah. His quote here at the end, actually, he just had a heart attack recently when he was performing at a suburban Dallas bar. So obviously, I mean, he's leaving at a peak. He had reached a high point of his career, and now he decided that he's going to pack it in.
It's not like he was at Carnegie Hall when he stepped away.
But he said that it sometimes didn't matter how clever his jokes were if the audience couldn't hold their liquor. He said the job is like babysitting people who can't handle alcohol. So the very complicated and, introspective jokes, ironic jokes that Gallagher would throw at the audience just went right over their heads.
Yeah,
along with the
suburban Dallas bar.
With the seeds and rind of a watermelon. What else have we got here? Oh, I like this story. This is one of my favorites for this week. Minnesota school blocks porn actress from date. Dateline Oakdale, Minnesota. A Minnesota high school senior who turned to the porn industry for a prom date found a couple of takers, but school administrators say the X-rated actresses aren't welcome. Mike Stone says he sent dozens of Twitter messages to Hollywood celebrities, mostly porn actresses, and received a response from two, Megan Piper and Emmy Reyes. They agreed to accompany him to the May 12 prom at Tartan High School in Oakdale. But Superintendent Patty Phillips says such a date is prohibited by school policy that disallows a visitor if it's not in the best interests of the students. The 18-year-old Stone says he'll hold an alternative party at the same time as the prom so he can bring his dates.
Call me reactionary, call me conservative, but if I had a child in the school, I would say it's pretty reasonable for a school administrator to be like, you can't bring porn stars to the prom. It's inappropriate.
Let me play devil's advocate here.
Please do.
What do you think the porn actresses are going to do at the prom? Do you think they're going to be wearing like crotchless bodysuits?
Probably.
Boobless dresses? Boobless?
Boob coverless.
Boob coverless? Yeah.
Just the fact that they're there, it's a distraction.
Do you think it'll inspire aberrant behavior in the
They're
other
not
students?
good role models. It's just inappropriate.
They're good role models for people who want to be paid
thing.
to have sex.
You could be like, if, let's say, some child, this 4-year-old, didn't have anything for show and tell, so started like writing emails to porn stars, and two of them said they would come for show and tell to the preschool. It's not appropriate, is it?
I agree with you.
How intolerant can you be? But it's like, come on.
I just think it's hilarious that, first of all, they agreed. I guess this is just publicity for them because there's news stories about it.
It's on one of America's biggest podcasts right now.
But the fact that they're both coming, he's going to have two porn actresses as his date. And what is this alternative party? Where is this taking place? And what the fuck are his parents doing here? Yeah, sure, bring the porn actresses over. They have like a hot tub in the backyard. Like, is his mom going to make Kool-Aid or something?
That's too permissive. That's permissive parenting.
That's kind of permissive.
Yeah, I won't stand for it.
They always talk about, if your kids are going to have sex, it's better for them to do it in the home, and you provide contraceptives and make sure it's a safe environment.
The two porn stars.
No. I prefer the old-fashioned way where you sneak into the basement or the attic, you have sex as quietly as possible, your mom tries to walk up the stairs every once in a while and surprise you, and you have to pull your pants up really fast.
Call us old-fashioned,
That's
but
the way
that's the way we learn to have sex, so that's the way we want this boy to learn how to have sex.
A couple more quick stories here. The Hunger Games nabbed the third best opening weekend of all time. I've never read the books, have no real interest in the movie, but apparently it's gotten
People love the books, especially the first book. And from everyone I've talked to that's actually seen the movie, people think the movie's great too.
Yeah, this whole thing worries me though, because if you think about it, the last few giant literary sensations in America have all been young adult books.
Oh no, I talk about this a lot.
Is this the range of literary?
Yes,
this is what
we've come to. The fact that
we read Harry Potter, Twilight, and the Hunger Games.
We read Twilight, we read the Hunger Games because we can't be bothered. Well, also there is also a problem with the fact that like books marketed to adults as adult literature are awful as well, and the writers that we seem to lionize at this point are like charlatans. So it cuts both ways.
I think you're using words that are too large for the American audience who can only read the Hunger Games. My potential wife, Katy Perry, stepped out in a... the story is Katy Perry is newly single and dressing like she's very ready to mingle. She channeled a sexy disco ball in a curve-hugging lavender metallic leather Paco Rabanne Mini at the Echo Awards in Berlin. Apparently... we reported last week that she's dating French model Baptiste Giabiconi. Doesn't that last name sound like he's Italian?
Yeah.
I don't know what the deal is.
Maybe he's from the border area.
Maybe. But apparently they're just friends. But we have a picture here of the dress. Warren isn't that impressed by it.
Do you think she got money to wear that dress?
I'm sure she didn't buy it. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure she didn't buy the dress, but do you think Paco Rabanne gave her money?
I don't think they give him money. I think they just give him
they just like send clothes.
Well, it's like when they go on the red carpet, they'll get like a $200,000 necklace loaned to them by some jeweler.
Yeah.
They're not paid to wear it. It's just the publicity. And that's why you're supposed to ask someone when they're on the red carpet, "Oh, who are you wearing?" And then you tell them you're wearing a Paco Rabanne dress.
I'm wearing a Paco Rabanne disco ball dress, you fucking asshole. What do you think I'm wearing?
And then Paco goes, "Ha ha!"
It's $984.
So I think that's all the celebrity news. Again, completely shallow and pointless.
Yes, that's what you come to this show for.
This has been Celebrity Minute
on the Warren and Bradley Show.
This has been Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
So at work, people are always like debating what music we should listen to.
Yes.
My work area, I used to be a lot more isolated. Now there's a lot more people working around me all the time, which is just
annoying.
Awful. Oh, very annoying. Just people having these awful conversations. That's how women are with these conversations I don't want to hear about like women's bodily functions and all these things. And I'm just like, come on, I would not be able to talk like that to men.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's just inappropriate. But they have got the Pandora radio going back there, and everyone's always fighting over what are we going to listen to now? And so finally, someone was like, let's listen to some talk radio.
Oh.
And so they're like, oh, what will we listen to? And I was just like, oh, I'll just throw on the show.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so I went over there. I don't know what prompted me to do this. This was, like, not a good idea.
No.
And then so I was like, da-da-da-da, and typed it in and just started some random show, and I, like, walked away. And then I came back a couple minutes later, and people were, like, standing around, like, looking at me, like, what is this? I was like, oh, why did I do that?
They were so wowed by it.
Well, they were just,
shocked.
like, puzzled that my voice was coming over the computer. And then I was like, oh, no, this is going to get inappropriate. And so I kind of, like, I closed it out and everything. But then one of the, my coworkers was, like, listening to it on his phone later. He was listening to a show. No, I didn't even know he was listening to it, but he was like, so he's like, did you, so you think you could be a surgeon? And I had no idea. Apropos of nothing. And I was like, what? And I didn't know what he was talking about. And then I found out later he was, like, listening to the show by his work area.
And did they love it?
I don't know. I seem to like it.
That's good.
Yeah, some more fans for the show, hopefully.
So now you're going to have to worry about them hearing the show, and you're going to have to amend what, you might have had some sort of... Well, you never really talk in detail about work anyway.
Way back in like episode 1, I talked about the guy that was fired.
Yeah.
But I don't have to see him again, hopefully.
Well, some new fans.
Oh, we hope so. Co-workers of Warren... Welcome to the show.
Welcome, and I hope you are here for a long, long time. Speaking of work-related incidents, last weekend we talked about the old man who wanted to drink my urine.
Yes.
This week...
Update.
I think everyone knows that I drive a piece of crap.
Everyone knows that.
I'm very grateful for it. It was a gift from a friend. But it has some issues. And if you think of it, it's a very old... truck. Does not look very nice.
No.
Nothing in it worth stealing, but somebody broke the window out and also broke the door handle, so the front door will not open from the outside. So I was like, oh, fuck this, and I put a little temporary plexiglass thing over the window to keep the rain out. And I went to that job where the urine drinker is known to frequent. And he was not there at the time, and I was trying to get back into my truck. I had forgotten something, and instead of walking around and unlocking the passenger door and opening it from the inside...
which would have been easier.
Which is... my life is so glamorous. I decided to try to shove myself through the broken...
Of course.
...little window, which is very tiny, and I'm narrow, but...
You're very narrow for a man.
I'm not that narrow.
No.
And so I had kind of wedged myself into this window. And basically, if you can imagine a little Chevy S10 with my ass and legs sticking out of the tiny quarter window in the back, sort of shaking, jiggling, and all of a sudden I hear a voice behind me going, this is an interesting situation. And it was the urine drinker, and he was staring at my swaying ass and seemed very pleased by the whole thing. And of course, I was trying to extricate myself because he had come up behind me. I didn't know what he was going to do. He might try to get it from the source then and like milk me or something. I don't know. It's all very uncomfortable. I luckily have finished that job now, so I don't think I'm going to have to go back there and be around. It's the train.
It's the train.
This is a train break.
So last week you told the rather amusing anecdote about how you had motioned meaning drinking to a girl, but actually it seemed as though you were
So I had implied
suggesting
that she was a little haggard and hungover from sucking so much dick the night before.
Exactly.
Which wasn't what I was trying to do.
It was not what you had intended. I had a similar situation last night. I was out with some friends, and a friend of a friend, a girl, was wearing a T-shirt that had elephants on it.
Yeah.
Cute little elephant prints. And I noticed the elephants, and I sort of nonchalantly pointed at them, which happened to also be her boobs.
Yeah.
And said, "Nice elephants." And she was a bit taken aback by this and raised her eyebrows and then asked, "Is that a euphemism?" And I went, "Oh, no, I just meant the elephants that were on your shirt. They're nice. I like them."
That's not fair to you, though, because they are elephants.
Well... You
didn't mean it in that way, did you?
I did not. And I've never heard boobs referred to as elephants.
I've heard a lot. There are a lot of euphemisms for boobs. Elephants is not among
What would
them.
elephant... They would probably be like large and wrinkly, maybe?
Yeah. I guess so. That's what an elephant's like, in gray, maybe.
Yeah, gray, wrinkly boobs. I could not see them, so I don't know if they were gray and wrinkly, but they seemed fine.
Yeah.
But
if you're listening, elephant girl.
Yeah, your boobs seem fine. But the elephants were what I was referring to, and it's just funny because I was thinking about, there's a lot of times where a girl will be wearing a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Maybe it's sort of close fitting, and they'll have some sort of print or a band or something clever there, and if you notice it, then that means that you were looking at her boobs.
But it doesn't, though, really, right?
Well, but that's kind of the catch-22 that you're involved in there.
So they're like, "Ooh, so you noticed this thing on my shirt?" And you're like,
"Hey,
it's
I'm
on
up
your
here. I'm up here, okay?"
And you're like, "It's on your shirt."
Yeah.
You're like a walking billboard for whatever you're wearing.
Yeah.
If you have something on a T-shirt,
walking boob billboard.
Exactly. And people are going to notice what you have written on you.
If I had things written on my crotch all the time and people noticed...
Well, of course you would. Everyone, if you had something written on your crotch, I would notice, and I'd be like, "Oh, nice elephant."
On your...
And you'd be like, "Oh, you're looking at my crotch?" And it's like, you have an elephant in your crotch.
I wouldn't mind if somebody said that I had an elephant in my crotch. That would be fine.
Gray and wrinkly.
Prehensile, too, baby.
An elephant actually makes more sense for, like...
For the crotch, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Than for the boobs. I refer to boobs as broncos sometimes. I think I invented that.
I've heard. Yeah, you unleashing the Broncos. I've heard that term.
Letting the Broncos out of the corral.
Letting the Broncos out of the corral. Yeah.
Which is one of the greatest euphemisms for taking a bra off that's ever been invented by man. Thank you very much. If anyone uses that, they need to attribute it to me.
Yeah,
or you'll be hearing from
my
lawyers.
You have to stop as you're in this intimate moment and be like, Bradley from the Warren and Bradley show made that up.
But yeah, I've noticed one thing that drives me crazy is the little high school girls who have like their volleyball sweatpants on or something, and it'll have like, you know, whatever high school volleyball across the ass. And what is that encouraging? You know, it's encouraging me like to lecherously go and stare at their asses.
The ass writing is always a weird thing.
Yeah,
I think it's less prominent now than when we were in high school. I feel like
I see it all the time now.
Really, they're still doing it now. Maybe. Well, it's probably less. I probably hang out with less high school girls than I did when I was in high school, so maybe I just
stare at more high school asses than you do. But I see it constantly. You'll see some like 42-year-old mother, and she'll have her 2 daughters, and they've got their little high school volleyball sweatpants or softball or whatever. And they always do the thing where they roll down the waistband, so it's like barely over the ass, and then it has their name across the ass. And I'm just like, if I were the mother, I don't know, I wouldn't want to encourage this. It just seems weird to me.
It's hard to handle, though. Can you imagine having a teenage daughter and like being like, you know, clean it up a little bit here. Pull those sweatpants up a little bit.
Yes, I can imagine that.
And then she's like, Daddy, stop. Daddy, stop trying to control me. And you're like, I'm just trying to help. She's like, I'm leaving. And then she like slams the door and out she goes. And you're like, oh, I shouldn't have had this kid. This was a horrible mistake.
Yeah.
And after a while, you're just like, wear whatever you want, you tart. I don't care what you do. Do what you're going to do.
You're paying for the abortion.
You just give up. Who's paying for the abortion? She is? Or
yeah, she is.
You have to pay for your own abortions. That's your punishment.
Okay, honey, you can wear whatever you want.
It's coming out of your allowance.
Yeah. How much is an abortion nowadays? There was another incident that happened last night.
Oh, good.
In addition to the elephant boobs. There was something which may or may not be a That's How Women Are, and maybe I'll leave it up to you, but I'm just going to say it is a That's How Women Are so we can play the wonderful song from Groupus McKay and the Rabble Rousers.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and cue up that music.
They say things that don't make any sense, and then they do things that make even less sense than the things they said that didn't make any sense. How they want you to buy them fancy jewels, but when you give it to them, they say you're a fool. Whoa, 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 whoa. 'Cause that's how women are.
All right, so this was a rather awkward situation last night.
Oh, yeah.
I was out with our good friends Chance and Anastasia.
Yes.
A little shout out to them. And we were drinking in a local bar. It was rather busy in there, but we had a table we were kind of sharing. There was a girl who used to live in town who I sort of knew, who was had dated a friend of mine for a while, and she had moved to Portland, but she was back, and we were talking. And at one point, some other girl came, recognized the girl from out of town, and there was a big, oh my God!
Oh, yeah,
like,
the girl, girl thing, yeah.
The hugging and And this girl who had come up and seen her seemed very, very drunk. And she was, as she was hugging this girl, she was rocking back and forth and kind of bashing into me. And so I sort of looked up like, like, okay. And she gave me this sort of look. I was like, okay. And so I just sort of thought nothing of it, and I continued speaking to my friends. Then I went up to get a drink. When I came back to the table, the girl who was rocking back and forth and bashing into me had taken my seat. I sort of looked down at her, and she looked up at me again with this horrible animosity. Huh. It's like, okay. So I put my beer down and motioned, like, okay, I'm going to go have a cigarette. Went outside, smoked, came back in, and she was still in my seat. Mm-hmm. But there was room in the booth opposite. I could go squeeze in next to my other friends there. And so I said, and she was also rather large, and so I couldn't get by her unless she like got up and let me by her.
Yeah.
And so I asked, like, oh, do you mind if I try to squeeze by you there? And she just went and shook her head no, with this angry look on her face. And everyone at the table sort of stopped and noticed this. And they're looking at her like, okay, yeah, you mind? Can I get back there and sit? And she's like, we don't like each other.
To you?
To me. And this is someone who I've seen around, but have never really had an interaction, at least not that I could remember.
Yeah.
I don't really know her. I think she might know some people who I know. And I was like, excuse me? She's like, you're an asshole.
Ooh.
And I don't like you.
Ooh.
And it's like...
She apparently knows you pretty well.
Yeah, apparently. And I said, okay, I don't really know you. I don't know what the problem is here. And I managed to, like, shove myself through.
You proceeded to squeeze in.
Well, I'm pretty narrow. And I squeezed in, sat in the booth, and she just glared at me and said, every interaction we've ever had has been horrible. And
well, it's your fault this time, lady.
Well... And I said, okay, the only interaction I'm thinking of now is this one. And yes, this is pretty horrible, but that's mostly on your end, I think. I'm just trying to get into a seat here. She proceeds to tell me that I'm a dick. Mm-hmm. She hates me.
Yeah.
And that everything I ever do is horrible.
Really?
Yes. And this is in front of all these people. She's really drunk. And so all my friends are... You know how people are when there's some sort of awkward situation. They're all just like kind of looking at each other.
David Letterman like collar thing.
Yeah, but at the same time, sort of like watching a car wreck, wanting to see what's going to happen. And so I think I handled it pretty well. I just said, you know what? If you say we hate each other, but to me, it's pretty one-sided. I don't feel one way or the other about you, you know? It's fine. I was trying to rack my brain to remember if there was any sort of situation where I had done something to her or was rude to her. And she said that I was always rude to her whenever we spoke. It's like, I don't remember ever speaking to you.
Yeah.
And so finally one of her friends managed to like grab her and lead her out of the bar because she was just gone out of her mind, drunk. And then finally it occurred to me that we had an interaction before.
Oh, good.
And this was several years ago. And the interaction went like this. She came up to me and said, you're an asshole. And this is the first time I'd ever spoken to her. It's like, excuse me? You hate me because I'm fat. No, I don't know you. I have no idea what you're talking about. You're so thin and you hang out with all your thin friends and you think you're better than everyone who's fat. You make fun of everyone who's fat. Like, no, what are you talking about? So basically, she had seen me around, had decided that I was skinny.
Yeah.
And was therefore her enemy.
Yeah.
And that apparently maybe at some point she had like said hello to me. I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe I wasn't as like effusive in my response as she would have liked.
Yeah.
And that meant that I hated her because she was fat. And from then on, she had this vendetta against me. And so that first time that I had remembered when she had spoken to me, I actually went out of my way to placate her. I was like, hey, listen, I have no problem with you. You know what? I think you're fine.
You and your kind are perfectly acceptable to me.
You know, let's got off on the wrong foot, but I'm sorry if I ever did anything rude. And I had thought at that time that it had all been kind of smoothed over. And we had not spoken again until last night when she sat down at my table. It was like this immovable object. Like she was going to sit there and she was going to show the world that she did not approve of me. And I was thinking, even when it was happening, is this a that's how women are, this grudge holding that's completely one-sided? Because also, you remember in the past, this happened to me another time where there was a girl, I was in a play my senior year of high school, and there was a girl who was apparently on the stage crew or something. And after one of our performances, she had come up to me and said, well, okay, let's backtrack. I saw her years later at a bar.
Yeah.
I see this girl glaring at me from across the bar. I was like, okay, what's this about? She's drinking her liquid courage until finally she gets up the nerve. She comes over to me and says, you're an asshole. Okay, I'm getting used to this like, as a start of a conversation. All right, why am I an asshole? Because when we were in a school play, I came up and said, good job to you, and you ignored me. Dun, dun, dun. And basically, I guess she had a crush on me or something, and after a play, she had tried to say something to me, and I had not acknowledged her properly. And it was something that I had no idea had happened, but she had held in her heart for years afterwards, this horrible grudge against me.
Well, this is weird because I have a story about high school theater that kind of involves the same thing, which I can't tell.
Okay.
And it involves women.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to say that's how women are.
I think it is. It's this weird... And I felt bad for that girl last night because obviously it was something that she was really upset about. And obviously she was really drunk too, and I don't know if she would have done this if she were sober. But it's amazing to think that somebody can be so angry about something and feel this animosity towards another person and think that it's mutual. And it's almost worse that the other person has no idea that this is even happening, you know?
Well, but I guess that's the grandest insult of them all, isn't it?
I guess.
That you're just like, I don't know who you are.
Right.
I'm not, like, mean or anything. I just don't...
I'm not going out of my way to be mean to you. I'm not going out of my way to be nice to you. I just don't know you.
But this is true. This is a woman thing, too, though. They tend to know, like, who everybody is and, like, what's going on with everybody, and they're curious about things like that. And I don't know who anyone is. And I don't... You know what I mean? I know who my friends are, and sometimes if I see people, I'm like, oh, it's that person. And they just know... They're just more involved in, like, interpersonal things, and it's like, I don't care.
Well, I think this is a womanly attribute as well. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the root of these two instances that I've described are perhaps that maybe the girl last night had a crush on me at one point from afar and had built up some idea of the way a certain interaction was going to go when we met, had built it up in her mind, and then there was some night at a bar where she said, hello, and I went, oh, hello, and then went and got a drink or something, you know? And then it was like, oh, my God.
And you have no idea what this is going on.
And I had no idea that it had happened, did not mean to be rude, did not mean to be mean. Yeah, I think it's this weird kind of false
like, it's not being able to,
like,
separate your own, like, inner world or your own intense feelings from what's actually going on around you. It's like really solipsistic. It's just like what's happening with you is what's most important, and like people's relation to you is what makes them who they are, almost in a sense. So you're an asshole because of some weird interaction that maybe you don't even know happened.
That
you know
I
what
didn't
mean?
perceive that there was supposed to be some importance placed on.
But I feel like I'm much more objective about things. Like I don't just because I said hi to somebody and they're like didn't hear me and like looked the other way or something. I wouldn't be like that person's an asshole. I'd be like, I don't. You know what I mean? I just don't. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Who cares?
So I think what we've decided here is that women live in a fantasy world, and men are more logical and objective.
Men are more, I think sometimes more logical.
It was pretty great, though, because then after she left, everyone was like, oh, my God. And then people were apologizing to me, like, oh, I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I was like, oh.
Well, that's the weird thing. Well, this is the thing about it, right?
It was amusing.
You probably did nothing to this person to make them mad at you.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's like, this person was incredibly rude to you, really. And,
well,
but the weird thing about it is, you don't care. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's amusing. I mean,
it's like
it's not like and she would probably be annoyed by this, but her opinion doesn't matter to me. She's not someone I know. She's not someone who she might be a fine person, but I don't know her. And basically, she was saying the only interactions she ever had with me were negative. Well, the only interactions I've ever had with her have definitely been negative. Yeah. And the connotation I've placed upon her because of this is like, stay away from that person. She's crazy.
Yeah. And she's angry. And
she's crazy and she's angry. But that's how women
That's how women are. And at the same time, you'll probably forget who she is and like
again, and this will happen again. I'll be like, who are you?
Who are you?
And she'll go, and stab me with her glasses.
Women.
Yeah, they like to put pretty purple panties on. And then they turn around and tell you that every little bit of thing you've ever done is always wrong. Well, they like to cry when they stub their little toe. But no, they don't cry when they tell you to go. No. Yeah, that's how women are. Yeah, I'm talking about how women are. Whoa, women are. Yeah, women are. That's how women are. Yeah.
This has been the Warren and Bradley Show, brought to you by Warren Van and Bradley Victor.
For podcast news and information, like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/Warren and Bradley. Follow the show on Twitter at Warren and Brad. Subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. For episode archives and episode pictures, go to warrenandbradley.com, and to contact the show, write to podcast@warrenandbradley.com.